Okay, in the previous video we created the JavaScript clock. We're gonna do part 2. That was part 1 just now. Part 2 is basically an extension of the assignment we did just prior, except we're gonna be changing some of the functionality. Be sure that you go to the link that's posted with the assignment so that you can see the washington.edu assignment in all its glory. Make sure that you also have your GitHub page open. I'll be going there right now, and because it's going to be part of this exercise, because it's going to be a lot easier to do, I'm going to open up CodePen. I'm not necessarily going to sign in because I'm just going to use it as a tool rather than as something to do the whole thing. So first I got to go to the week 15 folder that I already created. I have the javascript.html file that we created earlier. Since it's javascript.html inside of the week 15 folder, this is the clock, my JavaScript clock. I opened it because I need to make a copy of it. So now that it's open, I'm going to select all this text, right click on it, copy it, and then go back one and create a new file. And I'm going to call this new clock.html. And because it's going to run off of the same code, I'm just going to paste it in here. And just to keep it safe, I'm going to commit the new file. So it's safe, and I'll know that when I come back it should be there. Although I'm going to replace it with something different. I'm going to go to CodePen, and just so that I can see a little bit better, I'm going to start coding here. So I can see better, I'm going to change my view and make sure that all my code is on the left side. I've already got everything combined into one big chunk of HTML, so I just need to see the HTML window open. I'm going to press Ctrl V and paste all the code that I brought in from the other one. So here's the clock that I created, and it tells me that it's currently 21:11. That's 24-hour time, so it's actually 9 p.m. One of the things that we're going to change is going to be that. We are also going to be using an if-then statement to control motion in JavaScript. We're also going to be using some math, and we're going to be adding an interval so that the clock not only tells us the time at that moment, but keeps on telling us what time it is. I recommend that you read everything in this page at length so that you understand it. I am going to show you how to do it quickly so that it can get done, but this is a lot of good information that's here. We're going to be converting from 24-hour time, as I said earlier. You know, it was 21. It should be changed to 9. We're going to add a leading 0 so that whenever we see the time, we don't see, just the number 9, for example. We would see 09. We're going to add the functionality so that we can see the clock always moving at all times. And then we're going to stylize it so it looks like a clock. So what's good is that basically all the code, everything that they explain up here, they've already given us the code. So I'm going to copy everything in this yellow square, and I'm going to right click, copy. And it tells us that we're going to add leading zeros to minutes and seconds and everything that this code is doing. So change this, you need to add a few new commands after you have defined the hours, minutes, and seconds variables. So let's go to CodePen. And here on top of where I have my script, I declare the variables that are now hours, minutes, and seconds, as I said before. I'm going to find the semicolon, click to the right of it, press enter because that's the end of that line, that command. And just go back one so that it's parallel, it's actually in the same height as the V. I'm going to paste what I just copied, and things will begin to change. It did change the 21 to 9, and it's giving me 13 and 11 in 10 minutes or so, or maybe even sooner, since the since the clock is also there, I'll have to reload this to see what the clock is looking like, or I'll just wait until we add the code so that it's always giving us the proper time. I'll go back to the instructions, and there's an explanation of how this code is working, how it's using an if-then statement. You'll see it up here. If the minutes are less than 10, then the minutes are equal to the number 0 plus the rest of what the minutes say. That's how we add the leading 0. Same thing with the seconds. We change it to AM or PM, or we determine if it's AM or PM. If it's equal to or greater than 12, then you know that it's past morning. And as long as it's less than 24 hours, then it must be in the afternoon. Else, it's going to be morning, no matter what. The next thing that we're going to do is we're currently showing this number in a variable that is defined right here. We're going to get the clock div. Let me go back one more here. We're going to get the variable current time. It's actually whatever we determine hours are, plus the minutes, plus the seconds, plus the time of day. So I think that we got everything here all the way to seconds. We're going to be adding plus the space and then the time of day variable. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to search for current time over here. So I got minutes, seconds, and variable time of day is equal to AM. And our variable current time is equal to hours plus minutes plus seconds, but not the AM or PM. That's what I just copied. If you wanted to copy the whole line, by the way, make sure that you copy the whole line and then select all of this line and paste on top of it to replace it. I'm just adding to the end of it. So I'm going to change the time that we have, plus I'm going to add what time of day it is. And now I have a PM that appears right after this. The next step, we're going to see, okay, so we can test the new functionality to make sure it's working, and it's working already. Since we're using CodePen, we can see the results right away. You can test how the clock will display 12. It should be AM, but you know, we're not going to wait all day for that. I'm pretty sure that the clock is working so far with this feature. So going back to the directions, we're going to continue to update the time, and then it'll be easier to check it out. We're going to be adding another action inside of the body. Currently our body in pen, it's at the beginning of the HTML, right about here. The body, whenever it loads, it will give us it will load the function update time. We're going to be changing that to work a little bit differently. We're going to do that on load, but we're going to set an interval, so it's always doing it every second. So I'm just going to copy the whole thing to make this easier. Select it, copy it, go back to the code, replace the body, pressing Ctrl V. Oh, I didn't copy it properly. So I'll just go back, right click, copy, and paste it again. Okay, so it did it eventually. It's body and then the set interval, update time, 1000, etc. And then it's the division here for the clock. So now my clock is giving me the time, and it's giving me the minutes, it's giving me the seconds, so it's working properly. But this just looks like somebody's typing the time all the time. So the last thing we're going to do, we're going to change, or we're going to be adding some CSS to make a better looking clock. And we're going to do that by clicking and copying the style. Well, you can type it up if you want. You're just opening up a style bracket, and we're going to be changing the division clock with some styling declarations. Since we're working on one single file, we'll just go back to CodePen, find where the end of head is, wherever the script ends. We're going to add the styling right there. Right now there's no styling. This is only a comment, so I'm going to delete that, give myself a little bit of space to work there, and see what they tell us to do. So we're going to be playing, and we've done CSS before. We're going to be adding something: margin, padding, border, font size, font family, font weight, a whole bunch of stuff, the whole gamut of the CSS. So what does this mean exactly? well, just like CSS, I'm going to start backwards. I'm going to go with the background color first. I'm going to select that. I could type it, but I'm lazy. So let's declare here the background color, so that if you add a colon, I'm going to say that it's going to be black. Semicolon to finish the declaration there, and I saw it just appear there, but the time is the text is black, so we can't see it. The background is black as well. I'm going to make sure then that the color for the text is something we can read. It can be white, and semicolon to end that. So now we see the clock there, and it's a little bit tight, and it goes all the way across. So it's not really doing much for me, but it's better than before, just a little bit better. Something else that we can change, we can add some padding. So let's try that. I'll add some padding here. I'll go to the next line, and I know that I can add a margin. So let's see if we can do a padding of 10 pixels, semicolon, and a margin of 10 pixels, and a semicolon. You'll see how the clock is beginning to take shape. Now that's a lot of clock. That's a big box over there. Why don't I go to the top of this? And I don't know that it makes much difference, but I like to keep them in a certain order. I'm going to say that the text alignment, text hyphen alignment, colon is center, semicolon. And that way everything that's in here inside of the div called clock should be centered. It's not respecting it right away. I'll come back to that in just a second, because I'm sure did I mistype? Oh, well, yes, I did mistype something. It's not text alignment. I'm thinking of text alignment, but it's just text align, and it should be center. So now it's going to be centered. What else can we do with this? We can change the font family, we can change the font size, we can add a border, etc. Well, something you can do whatever you want with it. Make sure that it's a little bit different than this maybe. I'm just showing you the process. I'm going to see, how about if I say that the width of this division is a little bit less than what we have right now, which is 100%. I'm going to change it to 100 pixels, a lot smaller. And let's do, as they say, the font family. You could also do font size, but I'm just going to change the family to sans serif. Right now it's using serif, so I'll change to sans serif, semicolon. And now we have this clock, and it's a lot different than the one that we started with that just showed us the time whenever we loaded up the page, but now it's always showing it to us. And if you want to make it look more like a digital clock, or if you want to have a different font, or if you want to put it somewhere else, change the CS code as you best like it. I'm going to click inside of the HTML, press Ctrl A to select all, and then press Ctrl C to copy. Doing that, I'm going to go back to my GitHub and open up new clock.html. And I told you that I was going to replace this with something completely different. I'm going to click on the pencil to edit the file. Click anywhere, press Ctrl A to select everything. I'm going to backspace and then press Ctrl V as in Victor to paste. And once this comes in, I see my new code is there. I see the sans serif, the black, the white. While I'm at it, I want to do this maybe yellow instead of white. So I can change it. You can come back and change it at any time. I'm going to commit the changes. And let's see, I'm going to try to visit the page. I'm going to highlight my username.github.io and the directories and name of the file, and copy that and open up a new tab and paste it. Press enter, and here's my clock. I worked it in CodePen. If you wanted to sign in with your own account and save it, great, but it's already saved in GitHub now, so I'm just going to leave this. And make sure that this URL, the one with your username.github.io, week 15, the new clock.html, this is what you're going to turn in for this assignment for a grade. Thanks a lot.